Okay.
Okay.
Yep, you can go ahead.
Okay. My name is Dede. I am an LPN. I work at the Grand Junction VA. I work in an intensive case management program for the mentally ill. I also teach at AHEC, the CNA classes, and I run my husband's trucking company also. So
Busy.
yes, very busy. So the whole COVID-19 has impacted me probably more personally than it has work-wise. I'm still going to work every day. Unfortunately, I don't get to see my patients every day like I was. I still go into the homes, but I've spread it out every 4 weeks instead of every 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I talk to them on the phone as opposed to seeing them face to face. I think this has impacted them more than it has me.
Mm-hmm.
They miss the interaction. They don't get a lot of interaction. So they call quite frequently, when do we get back to business and go into groups and
Mm-hmm.
grocery shopping, meetings, whatever.
Right.
But the office stuff is still the same, still have to do the same paperwork. Still teaching the CNA classes, wearing masks, disinfecting, but other than those two little things, well, the skills part is kind of difficult. Sometimes we're not feeding each other like we usually would
Mm-hmm.
during skills. We're feeding the mannequin. As far as my husband's trucking, nothing has changed there. It's all still the same.
Okay.
Personally, it's been a struggle, kids being home all day, trying to balance work and school and fun time with them.
Right.
So that's been a challenge, but we've got some new things like a tether ball to play outside.
Nice.
We recently put my grandmother in a nursing home right before all this happened. She's got some dementia, which goes along with her Parkinson's. So she is very confused and having a hard time dealing with that we aren't visiting.
Right.
She feels that we've just dropped her off and abandoned her. So that's been hard. Every day I talk to her and say, no, grandma, it's this virus. And
Mm-hmm.
says, I just have the sniffles. It's okay.
Oh.
So that's a struggle. And I'm sure it is for the other residents as well.
Right. Right.
My dad is medically compromised. He's got pulmonary fibrosis. So we have steered clear of him and pretty close to my parents. So haven't seen them in over a month. So that's really hard.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. How are you changing education? You mentioned like feeding the mannequins instead of the students feeding each other, but what else is changing related to this new pandemic?
Just we've always taught, treat everybody as they have an infectious disease. Always wear your gloves, wash your hands. But now it's just enforced even more. I mean, this is not only are we telling the CNAs that, but I'm telling my veterans this, my kids this, and wash your hands, wear your mask, stay away from everybody. No, you can't play with your friends and no groups. And the skills have to be adjusted. And that's really difficult in the CNA classes because when they go in to do their clinicals or they get a job, they're actually going to have to perform these. So, and it's a lot different on a mannequin when you're pretending than it is on a real person when they're biting down on the spoon or refusing food or something like that.
Very true. How is the state testing going? Are they able to get their state testing done?
They are not able to do their state testing, and that's difficult because we always encourage them to schedule that as close as they can when they graduate from the class, so it's fresh in their memory. I think this is the third class that I've had that has to just wait. They're at the state's mercy until they open it up, and I really encourage them to practice on family members at home, stuffed animals, just reread their books constantly, and because it's going to be longer before they can actually test out.
Right. Oh, that definitely is a challenge.
Yes, and it's pretty nerve-wracking for them as well. They're nervous as it is and want to get it done and over with, and now they have to wait.
Right, right. Are they able to get their clinical hours done? Were they able to go in the clinical setting?
Some facilities are letting them do clinicals. It's a little bit different. They're not doing, the last class wasn't able to do 3 8-hour classes. They were only allowed to do 2, and we were limited on the facilities that would let us in and how that was going to work. But they were able to get their clinicals in.
Oh, good, good. What did you see changing in those facilities? What precautions, what change in their behaviors?
As far as the facilities, no visitors. I mean, they're not even letting hospice in to see the hospice residents unless if needed to.
Wow.
So they're being very, very careful. Anybody who has an inkling of allergies to pneumonia, they're in isolation, and the students can't work with that resident. So they're being super careful, which is good.
Right, right. Interesting. How is it now? You're over on the Western Slope, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And so, how is the rural environment over there? Is it being impacted differently, do you think?
As far as what the governor is telling us, no. As far as the people around here, yes. And I'll admit, I'm one of them. The kids and I have headed up to the hills and played on the 4-wheelers. And we plan to go camping and fishing. And I know they're kind of trying to discourage a lot of that, but I can only keep us all cooped up in the house for so long.
Right, right. Absolutely. How are you managing yourself dealing with working and teaching and homeschooling now? Your kids.
Oh gosh, it's stressful. I forget a lot. My oldest daughter, she's only 11, but thank God for her. She tries to keep me in line a lot of times, and she'll remind me of assignments that are due, or if they're having problems, because even the school system has been inundated, and they'll call me at work, Mom, I can't get on. It's not my fault. And it's not. And all you can do is try again later. So I make lots of lists. I ask for help wherever I can here with the kids. They've been wonderful with helping out with housework and cooking dinners and doing dishes.
Nice.
So that's nice.
Very good. Very good. So you do more of home health care for patients. Is that right?
It's case management.
Okay.
So I go into the home and I help them fill their med. Sorry for my dogs.
That's okay. Mine's scratching at my door too.
So yes, I'll go help them fill their med planners. We go over annually certain things like med education, stuff like that. Talk about their mood, their sleep, any issues that they're having there. Some guys we take grocery shopping if needed, or help them find housing. I do 2 groups a week. Well, I was up until coronavirus, but we have a social group, and we meet at a local church. They have graciously donated their basement to us every Thursday. And we go and play dice and other games and have snacks and pop. And then Friday group is a life skills group. And I base that on the veterans' needs. Anybody that comes in and, I need help with budgeting, we'll go over budgeting. How do I grocery shop? How do I cook on a budget? Whatever they need, we'll go over.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So, yeah.
And so you've changed kind of your practices by just spacing out those visits now.
Yeah. Spacing them out. Unfortunately, a lot of my guys aren't able to do their meds by themselves. They need a little supervision. So those guys, I go ahead and I go to their house. We have some guys where we're able to assist them with it very minimally and just trade out the boxes and say, here you go. I'll see you in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it may be.
Right, right. Are you taking any different precautions, or even the nurse aides who are going in to help, anyone taking different precautions going into homes?
We are wearing a mask and gloves. We're minimizing how long we stay. We have always had like the hand sanitizer in the vehicles. So we're obviously using that. Precautions I've taken here at home. I have a shop out back, so I just go straight back there. I have my robe.
Mm-hmm.
I get undressed, put everything in a plastic bag. I alcohol everything, my purse, my glasses, throw my shoes, take my laundry straight in, and I shower before anybody gets a hug or dinner gets started or anything.
Exactly. Oh, it's a change. I mean, I think as
Yes,
nurses, we've always known we have to take care of those things, but I think it's easy to
right.
forget.
It is. It is. We all get complacent in our jobs. You know, I go in without gloves or putting down a barrier when I'm doing their meds. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and as nurses, we're, you know, holistic, and touch is a big thing. And it's like, nope, we can't hug, we can't high five, we can't give fist bumps, nothing.
Right.
So
A big change for
it's
them.
big change. It's different.
Absolutely. What do you think in the long run, just looking at, and you're in the CNA program, but even just in nursing education and healthcare professions, what do you think is going to change in education related to this?
Um, I am hoping for the change of more preparedness,
Mm-hmm.
of people maybe not becoming so complacent, and I'm guilty of that too. Being more careful, because it's not just coronavirus I can bring home to my family. And like I said, my dad being compromised, I need to be more careful with that. So I'm hoping that the education around that and PPE are, I don't know, more encouraged.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Especially, it's amazing the difference from when you go from the hospital to home health care, and even then the nursing homes. We all
Yes,
had different standards of what we did for
absolutely.
protection.
Very different standards. Again, some of the facilities are letting them do clinicals. Some of them aren't. I know, like at my grandma's facility there for a while, they were feeding everybody in their room. Nobody was coming out to the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine how these residents feel already losing their home, not being able to see their family. And now they're definitely isolated in their room, having to
Right.
eat in there. I know that our community living center at the VA has really stepped it up with activities for the guys down there, because they can't have visitors. Nobody's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So last week they had a luau, and they've been playing bingo, and they're going to have another barbecue coming up. And it's just been really neat for those guys to be able to get out, and they've been gardening on the patio and stuff like
Perfect.
that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. How is your family coping? I mean, you said they're very helpful. Do they have a fear of any of this?
Um, you know, it's interesting. My two younger kids are 10 and 11. Um, and they have handled it better than my 18-year-old and my 43-year-old. Um, when I said we made the decision, no friends, they were like, well, okay. I printed out chore charts, and that included schoolwork, dishes, dinner, whatever they needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they stepped up and they did awesome.
Great.
My oldest son, who is 18, almost 19, had a really hard time. I had to finally put my foot down and say, I will take the car away. You can go to work and come home. There's no
Mm-hmm.
more going out and messing around and going to
Right.
the store every 5 minutes. And I mean, honestly, the grocery stores and Walmart are open. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where he's going, though, just to get out and do something. And I get it, but find something else here at home. And
Exactly.
then my husband, it was really hard. He is very close to his family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it was really hard for him to
Right.
stay home for a few weeks. He finally kind of gave up and started going to his parents' house, which I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's on him, but
Right. Right. Interesting. And how is your son dealing with his senior year? Because he's a senior this year. Is that right?
they just announced, I think last week, that they are going to do a graduation ceremony. They haven't exactly put in place if they're going to do a virtual one, or they're going to allow each senior to have 2 guests at the stadium.
Oh, okay.
So, but at first when they decided that it was canceled, he was pretty bummed out about that.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking forward to walking and wearing the gown and getting his diploma. So I think he's kind of relieved now that he actually gets to perform some sort of ceremony.
Good.
So, and I assured him that someday, I don't know when, but we will have a graduation party for him.
Perfect. Yeah, it's definitely a big challenge.
Yes.
How has it impacted your plans? Like, did you have plans for this summer
Oh
and things
my
like that?
gosh. Yes, it has way impacted my plans. I took time off for his graduation. We have an annual family reunion in Arizona. So I have to switch. I have to basically cancel all my vacation and hope that
Mm-hmm.
whatever days I want now are open.
Exactly.
My parents and I are hoping to go to Arizona sometime and then go visit my brother in New Mexico, but we're not exactly sure how that looks yet.
Mm-hmm.
The graduation has moved to July, so I need to switch that day. And
Wow.
so, yeah, it's impacted a lot of our plans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I was just thinking back to kind of as your son's graduating, and I think of students out there. How do you think this is going to impact people going into healthcare, students deciding to get into healthcare?
Um, I've definitely noticed a lot of in the CNA class, especially, people are
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, I want to be there. I want to help. I want to be a part of this. I want to make a change." We threw in an extra class because we had so many people sign up.
Wow.
Um, as far as the seniors, there were some high school girls in that class, in these classes. As far as my son and his class, my son is maintaining that he still wants to do lineman school. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of these 18, 19-year-old kids, they're not taking it as serious
Right.
as some of us. We're
Exactly.
still young and know everything. So,
Yep. Yep. I understand that. Yes, I think it will be interesting. I've heard some different stories regarding, people going into healthcare. Is it going to be like a 9/11 when we had so many
yeah,
going into the Air Force, Marines, all of that, as well as
right.
firefighters? And you wonder if it's going to push people or is it going to scare them away a little bit? So,
I've heard of, friends of friends or acquaintances that are in the medical field that went to New York to help out.
mm-hmm.
Um, Great for them. I would not volunteer. I guess if it was just me, I
Right.
probably would, but with my family, I wouldn't leave.
Right.
So, I mean, kudos to them for stepping up and doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How have some of the patients, besides being anxious to get back out there, do they get nervous? Are they searching for
Um,
information from you?
they do. They call quite a bit and asked, unfortunately, there's what's the word I'm looking for? A myth that because I work for the government that I have some sort of information, but I have none.
Uh,
They call and like, what are they not telling us? And I mean, granted, most of my patients are paranoid schizophrenics, and they're overthinking this and paranoid
mm-hmm.
about it anyway. So then now they're
Right.
forced to sit at home and watch the news,
And see the
and so
conspiracy
it's,
theory.
yep, calling constantly. Is there a shot? I heard this. I heard that. Is there a vaccination? What can we do? Um, a lot of my guys self-isolate as it is, but it's
Mm-hmm.
been interesting that my visit every 2 weeks has impacted, or my not visiting every 2 weeks has impacted them. It's like, well, you don't go out anyways, and now suddenly, I guess now that you're told to do it, you
Uh-huh.
you feel the need to go
Ex-
or have visitors.
yes, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Interesting. Wow. Definitely. Have you so definitely affecting their mental, I mean, and you work with the mental health component of it. So
Yeah.
what resources are you giving them and where do you get your resources?
I usually look at the CDC website and go from there. Obviously, I follow our local governor, mayor's orders, and I kind of get on the news and read their proposal to open back up and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And I just go from there. We actually have, I don't know what they're called, but like a COVID council team
Okay.
that's kind of running this. And every day they have a Skype meeting and give updates as to what the VA is doing,
Oh, perfect.
and hopeful future plans.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. What do you think is going to happen, or how do you think this will be remembered in history?
Um, Gosh, I don't know. I mean, so many jokes come to mind. I mean, toilet paper.
I know.
um, I think about that, like with my kids. What are they going to say about this?
Right.
My grandpa always talked about the Depression, and I think, remember that time Mom wouldn't let us play for 2 months?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it's somehow my fault or something. Um, I think a lot of this will kind of go down as, who's to blame? Why weren't we prepared? Why
Mhm.
didn't we have enough gloves or masks and
Right.
such? And how can we fix that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. Um, I can't think of any other questions right now. Do you have anything that you want to kind of add about the OSHA
Um,
component?
I guess just stay safe. Everybody just plug along, and
Right.
I don't know what else to say. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that their freedoms are being infringed upon, but I feel that the government has to step in because people aren't
Right.
following rules.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I just take it personally. Again, with my dad being compromised, but so many of my veterans are compromised.
Right.
I would feel awful if I went to visit my grandmother and the whole facility got sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to do what I can to protect everybody that I can.
Right. Right. And so far, you guys are doing pretty good over there.
Yeah, not too bad. I think we've had 42 cases,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, and no deaths. So
That's
knock on
good.
wood.
I know. This Weld County is not looking so good. So
Right.
it's been a challenge over here on the eastern side. So good
Yeah,
for
and
you
I'm
guys.
scared with them opening up everything that this is just going to surge.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
Um,
don't know how it'll be. It's definitely going to be very interesting to see.
right. And I know the VA is kind of taking the stance. They're not moving pretty fast
Mm-hmm.
on reopening a whole heck of a lot. As of
Mm-hmm.
last week at the last meeting that I heard, it was just kind of, we're staying as is for now and
Right.
going to go from there.
Yeah. Have they had to lay off anyone or put anyone on furloughs that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of. I have two other nurses and a social worker that work with me in my office. So there's a total of 4 of us there. 2 of them decided to work from home.
Okay.
I opted not to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that disciplined. I think
Uh-huh.
I would be doing more yard work and playing with the dogs and kids.
Yes. Distractions happen.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I went to the office, but again, I do a lot of the med passes, so I'd have to go back and forth to the office anyways. So
Right.
I
Right.
just chose to go ahead and stay there and
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
do that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time
You're welcome. Thank
and doing
you.
this. I really appreciate it. We're really excited to see what happens with all of these. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go ahead and let's see.